Mini episode 1161 of the FDH Lounge is brought to you by Sportsology, delivering unconventional columns and webcasts about sports, TV, music, movies, and more. Follow them on the web at sportsology.com.
The FDH Lounge. You'll want to schedule your life around it.
A long time ago, on a gloomy, wet Cleveland spring night, two men stand alone amidst the late-night drizzle. Their voices echo across the vacant station parking lot as they debate the merits of the great American radio show that have been missing for far too long. On that night, an idea was born. That idea became the FDH Lounge. Welcome to the FDH Lounge.
Welcome to FDH Lounge mini episode 1161. This is FDH managing partner Rick Morris here with our 2019 World Series preview. Here's our top 5 notes about this year's Fall Classic. Number 5, our annual oddities file is bulging in terms of this matchup. First of all, it's the first clash between the AL West and the NL East since the division series came into being in 1995, and the first one between these divisions since the Twins-Braves 7-game epic of 1991. Now that this matchup has happened for the first time in the divisional series era, every one of the 3 divisions in each league has matched up against every division in the other league. The AL West has the smallest amount of pennants in the divisional series era with 5, while the NL East is second behind the AL East's 12 with 10. Until the Rangers got theirs in 2010 and 2011, only the Angels' pennant of 2002 was on the board for the AL West, but Houston boosted the number from 3 to 5 in the last 3 seasons. Speaking of the Texas divisional rivals Astros and Rangers, they came into being in 1962 and 1961 respectively. Of course, the Rangers only took on that identity in 1972, starting as the second incarnation of the Washington Senators. There really are few, if any, sports ties between the cities of Houston and D.C., and no other baseball commonality other than the Astros having won both AL and NL pennants, and now the Senators having won AL pennants, and the Nationals having won an NL crown. Lastly, the most conflicted sports fans in America about this series might be in the family of longtime football coach Jack Pardee, who coached the Redskins and the WFL's Washington Ambassadors, as well as the Oilers, University of Houston Cougars, and USFL's Houston Gamblers. Additionally, 2 starters from the 2016 American League champion Cleveland Indians who missed the World Series due to injury get another chance here. Michael Brantley with the Astros and Yan Gomes with the Nationals. Oh, we lied, one more thing. This is only the second World Series after the Royals-Mets tilt of 2015 that does not feature even one team that predated baseball's expansion period of the 1960s. Number 4. On our FantasyDraftHelp.com ultimate quantitative baseline comparing the 2 teams, this much is clear. Houston is a historically great team on paper, but Washington is one of the few teams in baseball that is not in a complete mismatch against them. In terms of the specific components, Houston was first in our season-ending power rankings, Washington was 10th. On our metric of 1/2 power rankings and 1/2 strength of schedule to yield impressiveness of wins, Houston was 5th and Washington was 7th. In OBP, Houston was 1st, Washington was 2nd. In OPS+, Houston was 1st, Washington was 10th. In FIP, Houston was 3rd, Washington was 10th. In ERA+, Houston was 2nd, Washington was 9th. In Pythagorean records, Houston was 1st, Washington was 7th. In SRS, Houston was 2nd, Washington was 4th. In run differential, Houston was 1st, Washington was 6th. And in the final UQB tally, Houston was 1st, Washington was 4th. This is the rare championship round matchup in any sport that has one team ahead in every major category, albeit Houston does not have a commanding lead in either hitting or pitching categories, and the hurling differential comes primarily from the bullpens. Number 3, the era of overwhelming star power in the World Series continues. Earlier in the decade, when the likes of San Francisco and Kansas City were hoisting titles, top-end talent like Madison Bumgarner, Buster Posey, and Johnny Cueto posed the exception to the rule of a wide base of generally above-average players on both sides. But this is the 4th year in a row that premium star power, especially of the younger variety, is on proud display. The Nats have Anthony Rendon, and the heir to Bryce Harper's legacy, Juan Soto anchoring the lineup, and generational talent Max Scherzer joining Steven Strasburg and Patrick Corbin in a great 1-2-3 punch atop the rotation. Meanwhile, AL MVP favorite Alex Bregman, 2017 World Series MVP George Springer, 2017 AL MVP Jose Altuve, and AL Rookie of the Year frontrunner Yordan Alvarez lead a mammoth lineup including Carlos Correa, Yuli Gurriel, and Michael Brantley. The rotation has the best 1-2 punch in baseball with the peerless Garrett Cole and Justin Verlander, whose participation in the 2017 World Series was preceded by his 2012 World Series appearance with Detroit alongside Scherzer and Anibal Sanchez, either of whom he may oppose in a game this time around. Of course, as Scherzer and Sanchez remember all too well, those Tigers came into the World Series on huge rest and got boat raced, a fate that DC is hoping to avoid after taking approximately 15 minutes to get past St. Louis in the NLCS. Number 2. Neither bullpen is outstanding, so the team that survives late-inning matchups better may be the one that wins the series. Washington in particular likes to mix in their starting pitchers for cameos here and there, indicative of their extreme thinness. They will rely on their big guns going deep into games and avoiding a big drop-off in the third time around in the order. Houston has more bullpen depth, but only 2 huge guns in the rotation as opposed to Washington's 3, so they'll likely rely on the back-end guys more. Number 1, Team of Destiny versus Team of the Ages. When Trent Grisham let the ground ball get by him in the outfield in the NL wildcard game, it triggered the kind of magical run that sometimes happens in October. The usually underachieving Nationals then got past the powerful 2-time defending NL champion Dodgers with a dramatic late-inning comeback in Game 5 for their first postseason series victory ever, going back to their founding in Montreal in 1969. The humiliation inflicted on a woefully mismatched Cardinals team in the NLCS was completely anticlimactic. If ever a team was going to get past the historically great juggernaut in Houston, it would seem to be Washington. But it's a fool's errand to pick against a historically great juggernaut. Yes, they were pushed to the limit by the Rays and Yankees, but both teams fit into that tier of teams just below the Astros along with DC. As such, this indicates the likeliest scenario going forward. Washington stretching Houston to the limit before coming up short. If Anibal Sanchez can continue his strong October, thus giving the Nationals a decided edge in starting pitching depth, if the Nats can somehow minimize the bullpen usage and or have those arms overachieve, if Washington can keep the big hits coming in the biggest spots, there's certainly a pathway for the Nationals to follow the 2018 Capitals as a team that put aside long-time underachieving and brought a title to the nation's capital. But that's a lot to ask for against these Astros, who we see winning their second World Series in 3 years in 6 games. Thank you for joining us for this mini-episode of the FDH Lounge.
As we bring the show to a close, we would like to extend our deepest gratitude to NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox, all Clear Channel affiliates, TNT, TBS, USA, UPN, Deadspin.com, YouTube.com, YTMND.com, MySpace.com, various blogs, Fox News, CNN, CNBC, MSNBC, IamBoard.com, Billboard.com, Google.com, ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN News, ESPN Classic, NBA TV, NFL Network, Sports Time Ohio, Athlon Magazine, Comedy Central, Cartoon Network, The Boomerang Channel, QVC, BET, The Spice Channel, Steno Notebooks, Manwich, Papermate Office Supplies, Waitresses, Strippers, Bartenders, Garbage Men, Janitors, Microwave Popcorn, the writers of The Office, Scrubs, Entourage, My Name is Earl, Oz, Metalocalypse and the Boondocks, Aquafina, and The Periodic Table of Elements.